Good morning, everybody. Let's get the other Facebook groups in here before it's time officially to go. While it's happening, coffee break before it's even happening, because I'm going to need it this morning. So 1 second, everyone.
Other show lets it breathe. We let it drink.
Oh, man, that's good. Welcome in, guys. It is Thursday morning, and we have breaking news, I guess. Somewhat breaking news. My phone said breaking at 3:56 a.m. Pacific time, so maybe when the rest of the world was waking up, I was still fast asleep. Broncos get their next head coach, signing a 4-year deal, according to Mike Kliss, and first being broken by Tom Pelissero. Got to make sure you get the credits right. Nathaniel Hackett, former offensive coordinator of the Green Bay Packers, now officially the next head coach of the Denver Broncos. Scott, how you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm going to give credit to our Cambodia connection, who was up in the evening for Peter Middleton breaking the news to me. I look at mentions before I look at anything else when I hit Twitter, just to see who's saying hello. And Peter says, Scott, can't wait to talk about the breaking news. I was like, uh-oh. And it was 7 a.m. It was 7 a.m. Eastern time, so right in that neck of the woods. And frankly, Nick, I was starting to get a little edgy about this one. I'm like, if this thing goes another day, it's going to be Kevin O'Connell. Because Dan Quinn seems to be, parted ways one way or another. He's got plenty of options. They may have decided to go one way. He may have said, I'm looking in another direction. When you've got your candidate there on Monday and he's there for 8 hours and it gets to Thursday and you haven't hired him, something's up. So this made sense if you're gonna pull the trigger today. And now, there's gonna be so much fun for Broncos country. But now I'm as a fan of the NFL, as a fan of the process, I'm gonna be real interested in watching the rest of the dominoes fall here over the next 3-4 days.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of Broncos country wanted an offensive coach. A lot of guys wanted the West Coast Kyle Shanahan-esque scheme coming back to Denver. And in theory, you're bringing that to Denver. Now, Hackett was not calling plays under LaFleur in Green Bay, and he
Trying to
has...
inhale my coffee this morning,
Yeah,
Nick.
goodness, look out. Don't die. God, I don't even know what I'd do if, you fell down. Don't have anybody's numbers. He's choking. Somebody super chat him back to life.
Nick doesn't know any of my personal contacts. Hopefully, you make enough noise that my wife would hear me upstairs or something. I don't know. Kadonk.
Mine would just be mad because I woke her up probably. But DC, we got Tofu saying the possible defensive coordinator, Ejiro Evero, and offensive coordinator, Adam Stenovich. Ejiro Evero is the pass game defensive coordinator for the Rams, essentially.
Secondary coach and passing game coordinator. He's been in the league about 12 years, kind of under the radar because it's the first time I'd ever heard that name. Not that I'm the, Bible on assistant, relatively obscure assistant coaches, but he has. He's been in the league about 12 years already. Started with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2007. So that's 15 years. See, time flies.
He's been around. And Adam Stenovich for offensive coach. He is the run game coordinator and the offensive line coach for the Green Bay Packers. So let's start to get to some of these super chats here because we know we got a lot of people that want to come in. New era in Broncos country. Hackett Machete. # Denver Broncos for life. I like Hackett Machete. Good job, Bryce. That's I'm stealing it. That's mine now. Ethan coming in saying the DWI guys. Everybody knows Ethan. Thank you. Good morning. Gonna have to start a new fund since the first two were so successful. Trade for Aaron Rodgers fund. # Tifarf. I'm just gonna lean into the Tifarf on this one. Scott and I are talking how about the # Nick Kendall wins the lottery fund? I don't know. You got some magic juju, Ethan. Let's use it for good here. Me getting rich.
That came on right before we went live. I'm like, I'm sure glad he's on our side. Are you sure you're not from New Orleans? A little voodoo warlock we got going on here. So, I probably was following everybody else. Kind of had me talked into, it's Dan Quinn. I'm like, I asked a question. I'm like, the tie between Peyton and Quinn is thinner than Quinn and Russell Wilson. Why is this such a thing? It's been 15 years and they worked together maybe a year or two down in Miami. Gee, that's a lifetime. You've met 10,000 people since then.
Yeah.
They always said, if I was a general manager, you were a coach, come work for me. I'm like, you mean like your 9-year-old friend that was a girl when you said, hey, if we're not married when we're 30, we'll marry each other? It's hardly binding. So, again, what show were we on, Nick? Someone asked me, I think it was a Denver Broncos fan on our show yesterday, said, "Who do you want?" And I said, "Listen, I want the Broncos to get. I want the Broncos fans to be happy. I want the Broncos fans to get the guy that they want. And I want it to be someone that George Payton wants also. And they wanted an offensive guy. They really did. And I'm not saying that as like, oh, be careful what you ask for, get what you deserve. I'm like, no, we're all fans.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as Broncos fans, you're going to outlast Nathaniel Hackett. You know, this is a job for him. He'll pour his heart and soul into it, but 5, 10, 15, at best 20 years down the road, he'll be gone and you'll still be a fan. So I want you to be happy, Broncos country, and I think you should be with this hire.
Yeah, no, it should be exciting. I mean, it's new. Sorry about that. You can pull that one up. It's new, so everybody is we're very much in the honeymoon phase. Just walk down the aisle. Somebody, US Dave, shout out to Dave, said, "So did we get a new pope?" That comment made me laugh pretty good. He got the white smoke coming out of the chimney there. So shout out to US Dave, making me laugh. See Patrick Havner coming in here too. Shout out to you, giving us the stars over on Facebook. We also got constant star provider, a superstar in my eyes, Miguel coming in. Good morning, fellas. I'm so excited about this. Now that this is over, we can move on to the quarterback draft and ownership talk. Ownership talk, definitely going to be a big one. New quarterback, new ownership, but the first domino fell. Nathaniel Hackett. Next dominoes to fall will be how this staff around him falls into place. What does it mean for a lot of the longtime defensive coaches that this Broncos team has? What does it mean for the likes of people like Curtis Modkins, running back coach, Zach Azani, wide receiver coach? Everybody knows Mike Munchak. What does this mean for Mike Munchak? So we're going to figure out about this rest of the staff here pretty quickly. And then from there, the scheme. So I agree with you. Quarterback and ownership talk is big, but I want to know what happens with the coaching staff and the scheme next, because those are the most immediate things to happen.
I think if we're talking timeline here, it's gonna go assistant coaches. What your assistant coach is going to be, then addressing the quarterback situation. Drew Lock should still be there, but he might not be. He could request a trade or whatnot. But you're not going into the year next year with just Drew Lock on contract. That's impossible. So you're getting new quarterbacks, probably 2. Now, who are those guys going to be? And then 3 will be the ownership situation. And that one doesn't excite me as much. I'm like, okay, yeah, just get an owner, the Billionaire Boys Club. Not quite as worried about those guys for sure.
Yep, absolutely. We got Addison Reichilk coming in with a $4.99 support in the Rodgers and Adams trades. I wouldn't give up Judy. I'd rather let go of KJ. I feel Judy with Rodgers would be dynamite. All Judy needs is a good quarterback. I think ideally you'd want to keep Judy, but I do think that Judy and Adams live in the same universe as far as stylistic, like how they win. So if you're losing Judy, it's unfortunate, but you're bringing in arguably a top 3 wide receiver, maybe even the best wide receiver in football with Adams as well. So I wouldn't let Judy get in the way of bringing in Rodgers/Adams. The big thing here, and I appreciate the comment, Addison, but KJ Hamler's coming off of a serious knee injury, and when after it happened, they said like he tore his ACL, and then Vic Fangio said, and some other stuff. That and some other stuff is doing a lot of heavy lifting because when you're talking about somebody just a clean ACL tear, we've seen that 6-8 months recovery, that's fine. When they have the ACL or MCL or other ligament damage in the knee, you're talking about multiple years potentially. So I don't think KJ Hamler has a lick of value in the trade market right now because he's too fresh off that knee injury. We haven't seen him play again, and that's a serious injury for somebody who's a quick twitch player. That's a very serious injury for the style of play that KJ Hamler has.
Yeah, I was going to put it in a Twitter size for you. Green Bay won't want Hamler. That's how that one boils out. It'd be nice. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to send the guy for a perennial Pro Bowl receiver, to send the guy that is coming off an injury and might not have a future in the league? That'd be great. But that one's a pie in the sky. I'm afraid.
Yeah. Yep. So we talked about obviously bringing in our interviewing for offensive coordinator Adam Stenavich. There's still some Luke Getsy vibes out there, so we'll see how it plays out. The Broncos have to wait until after the postseason to bring in Elijero Evero, but they could bring in Adam Stenavich immediately. That being said, SEC says here, what does it mean for Mike Munchak's future? Will they keep Mike Munchak? Because everywhere the Hackett's gone, he's been a buddy with Doug Marrone. He was the offensive coordinator under Doug Marrone in Jacksonville. and I think he was in his staff in Buffalo as well.
Mhm.
So they've been close together for a while.
I knew Doug when he was in his college days. I got to meet him on the recruiting circuit. And Doug's a good dude, and he is a heck of an offensive line coach.
Yeah.
Forget everything else. These guys elevate to the head coaching position because of what they're capable of doing at the position level.
Yeah.
That's how they work their way up. And Doug Marrone, if you say, okay, Doug Marrone's going to be your OL coach, be happy. Be real happy. I hadn't thought of that. I don't know if that's – I thought it was just kind of tongue-in-cheek. Doug Marrone, after having a couple head coaching gigs, won't need to work again if he doesn't want to. But if he does, you could do a lot worse than Doug Marrone on the offensive line. That's for sure.
Yeah, Callahan, Marrone, Munchak, and the offensive line coach for Philly, and the one who for New England who just recently retired. But those are considered some of the big wigs. So Marrone, I don't really love moving on from Munchak because he has done a good job and he has good skins on the wall, right? But Marrone is considered one of the best offensive line coaches in football as well. Also, shout out to Sean Kugler. He's done a good job. I think he's down in Tampa. Michael Ronquillo coming in. Good morning, Nick and Scott and Broncos for breakfast. I'm happy that the Denver Broncos will hire Nathaniel Hackett as the new head coach of the team. Thank you, George Payton, for hiring Nathaniel Hackett as the new head coach for Denver. Go Broncos from Tucson, Arizona for life. Thank you very much, Michael. We appreciate you, and we share your excitement. We got
and
is
Patrick
this another one?
Has come in double dipping this morning.
Oh wow!
So appreciate you for sure. And then here's a new name to me, and I like the multilingual, especially after I screwed up Buenos Dias. Thank you for the corrections that weren't too harsh on me in the YouTube comments. I would have said Buenos Dias until I died. So thank you very much on that. Estrella. No, that's not right. Estrella Jr.
Estrella?
So let's go Broncos for Desayuno. My favorite crew. Great morning. Thank you, sir. Thank you. We're glad to have you with us this morning for sure.
Yeah, thank you very much. Also, Trevor Sandals in the house. Good morning, fellas. Always good to see you, Trevor. We've got his 2 coffee cups there. You need to pour yourself one there, Trevor, as well. Albert Knoppers is in the house too. DBA, Jeremy Shawn, Mark Anthony. Oh, Tommy Lee. I think that said Tony Lee.
Tony or Tawny. Yeah, Tony. I'd go Tony, and he can correct me for sure. That's a new name. So welcome. Appreciate the stars. That seems like a new name to me. And then a name that we see a lot is Travis. Travis Weber says, good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. With the confirmation of Hackett, do you think Peyton got nervous about Hackett going to talk to Jacksonville? Not to wait on O'Connell. Either way, happy with the hire. No, I don't think that's it. I don't think he was I think Hackett was his guy. I think they spent that much time together on Monday and said, okay, this feels good. Let's let the lawyers and the agents and let's talk with the agent. Let's see if we can come to a deal. And it took 2 days. It took 2 days to do that. And if I'm Nathaniel Hackett, I'm going to say, okay, while you're doing that, I'm going to make sure I'm not left out hanging if we can't work this out. So I'm still going to go on the interview process. And if I have to call up and cancel it because we've come to an agreement, then so be it. I think based on Monday and based on the fact that Hackett was hired, that they came to terms. They didn't come to terms. They came to an agreement on Monday. Said, we want you, you want us. Let's get this done. Couldn't get Dan Quinn in for a second interview. We're trying. He's going out other places. So I don't think there was any kind of panic or anything at all. I think it was just running out the ground ball. I'm going to keep interviewing until we've got a job. You're going to keep pretending to interview until we come to an agreement. And in the meantime, the next 48 hours, we're going to come to an agreement.
Yeah, no, that sounds great. I agree with you on that as well. I think it's funny. Also, a tidbit here. Everybody's like, oh, why did George Payton take Nathaniel Hackett to a local, smallish, authentic Mexican restaurant instead of taking him to Always or Shanahan's? Apparently, Mike himself had the back room reserved in Shanahan's steakhouse. So they went to the local taco joint instead, had some margaritas, and sent him on home, which to me, I'll take the tacos. I'll take the steak. I'm not picky. Those both sound great, especially somebody living with a vegetarian. I'll take either meat option.
I'm a vegetarian, and you can go to a barbecue place and live on sides. I got no problem with that. But then going to Mexican is real easy for me. So that's just make sure there's enough of it, and I'm going to be real happy. You're buying me dinner. We're going to be friends.
Yeah, that's quickest way to a man's heart, right? Is to
you're gonna give me a $30 million contract. We're really going to be friends.
Yeah, gosh, for sure. Tim's saying, hopefully we retain a few staff. That's the next domino to fall. I'm curious to see. Do you have much insight? This is, again, I was sitting down to write the episode, and then I'm like, I better check the news to see what's going on. Holy bleep! They brought a 3:56 a.m. announcement. Okay, well that's great to see, because it is. I'm waking up at 6:30 or 6 a.m. over here. But any thoughts or news on Ejiro Evero? Do you have any information on him? I know he's the one that we're not as familiar with.
I looked him up as soon as I saw that, and let me run through his resume here real quick. He was an assistant coach at UC Davis. It's California system. Defensive quality control coach for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another quality control coach. That just means you're young. That's basically an internship with the 49ers. Defensive assistant coach with the 49ers, offensive assistant coach with the 49ers, quality control coach with the Packers, safeties coach with the Rams, and then secondary coach, passing game coordinator with the Rams. So I like to see that he has been elevated within, instead of just, I know guys and girls and guys that seem to start with a decent job. They get that on their resume and they're terrible at it. But all of a sudden they've got this nice job on their resume, so they get another job. And all of a sudden they've got a resume with all these great companies, but they aren't worth a damn. So this is a person who's been elevated within, which I like to see. He's been promoted from within. He didn't have to leave to get a promotion. He has each step of the way that he's gone, he has moved up in the ranks. So definitely one to watch. That's all I know about him. That's all what I know about the man, you can find on Wikipedia. That's what I know about him. But reading through, watching this and interpreting his career, that is one of the things that stood out to me. Is I like the fact that he's gotten promotions from within and not just, okay, you see guys that just get fired, and it's often they're terminal offensive coordinators. They get an offensive coordinator job, fired. He picks up another one because he's been the offensive coordinator at all these great places. Well, he's been fired every time. I call these guys mafia guys. They're like made men. Once they're in, they're in. But this might be his chance as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with you. And we have Mark Anthony coming in. Always the cute picture of the golden tree, way to my heart. Are y'all able to give us a brief info on Hackett's scheme, whether he runs power or zone, 11 or 12, the basic stuff? It's pretty hard to say what Hackett's going to run, given it was more Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers show in Green Bay than the Hackett scheme. Hackett worked on the gold zone, which I believe is the 25, not the red zone. It's actually the 25 yards on in for Green Bay, but I could be mistaken there. As far as 11 or 12 personnel, I think he's pretty flexible, but most of the league is leaning towards 11 personnel, so you'd see more of that. Power zone, though. Hackett in Jacksonville ran more zone-centric schemes than he did power schemes. So there'll be a little bit of a transition for the Broncos up front. Maybe one of the reasons you see the a potential regime change at offensive line coach, even though you already have Munchak. You want to get a little bit more zone concepts in there. You trust Marone to implement that a little bit more. But a little bit more zone. As far as 11 or 12, I think you'll see both. But we'll see. I mean, gosh, who knows? He did not call plays last year under Matt LaFleur. Apparently, a lot of that was trying to figure out how to become more explosive passing out of that West Coast offense. And hopefully you learn that with Hackett. But how much is Rodgers? How much is LaFleur? Who knows? But that's my understanding, at least with Hackett's offensive scheme right now.
Nick, you're breaking up just a little bit, so I'm going to take this one for a moment. If you need to hop in and out, you're pixelated and your sound is off just a shade.
Okay.
Now you're frozen, looking like my German Shepherd. I call it the Shepherd head tilt. You're like,
I'll be right back.
Hey, Snooky. I understand things better from this angle. But Peter Terranova, that looks like a new name to me too. So welcome. Appreciate you being here. He says, I'm excited about Hackett. Whether Rodgers comes or not, I like the move. Hackett allows you to get a vet or groom a young guy. His energy excites me. Chad last night on the Huddle Up Pod dropped a little tidbit that Dan Quinn may not have been totally sold on the plan for quarterback at Denver. And it might be one of the reasons he didn't interview well. Maybe he wanted to go somewhere else and he didn't give it his best effort. I don't know. For me, not interview well means, hey, you're not our top guy, and hey, you're not my top team. So, yes, as an offensive guy, I'm arrogant enough to think, okay, I can get a guy and develop him. What makes me a little bit nervous about Hackett, and I don't mean about Hackett, but for Hackett, is if you draft a quarterback in that number 9 spot, let's say you go and get that guy, you're almost tying your future to that guy. When you're coming in, you're going to get a 3-year window as a head coach, and you're going to have Drew Lock and a rookie. And if you don't have success in 3 years, you're gone. And it's going to be, this isn't necessarily the quarterback class where you think, okay, this is my guy. I can see us being Josh Allen in 3 years. I can see that happen. I can see the progress. I can see where he's going to be, and we're going to move forward. This class, if I spend a high pick, like a number 9 on Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral or one of those guys, and he falters, you're going to be looking for a coach again. If you hit your wagon to someone like him, then I think it could be a little trouble. So if you get a vet and then, a quarterback where Drew Lock steps up and plays like a middle tier or above veteran, then I think you've got a little bit more time to find the right long-term solution, or maybe Drew Lock does become that guy. So appreciate the comment, Peter. His energy excites me as well. We talked all the time. What are the 2 words, no matter if it's Quinn, and it looked like it was going to be Quinn or Hackett, the 2 words that I want you to remember is culture change. The culture change from these 2 is going to be night and day. You're going to have fun watching the Denver Broncos again. It wasn't always fun this year. It wasn't always fun following them day to day. At least this year, probably not. It was probably even worse the year before.
I had fun, but it was mainly because I got to hang out with you guys and talk about the games. But other than that, the game themselves, not always the most fun. But yeah, no, Nathaniel Hackett, we were talking a little bit of scheme with him and whatnot. I am curious to see how much bringing over I'm still trying to get all these names together, the run game coordinator for the Rams, and how big of a deal it would be for him to come over. Apparently, he's very well thought of, and there is a chance that the Rams might not let him go. But we'll see. We got Dominic coming in here with Dominic Mestias coming in, $10. Thank you so much, Dominic. You're great, and we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us this morning. We also got Gary Kuhn, $9.99, rocking the motorcycle pick there from Gary Kuhn. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Yeah, Gary, I was like, I felt like that's a new name. I was like, wait a minute, I recognize that motorcycle. I know motorcycles better than people. So I moved into an uppity neighborhood in North Metro Atlanta that didn't let people drive motorcycles in them, and I sold both of mine, and I think that's the reason why I haven't been happy in years. I bought a motorcycle for my 30th birthday. I bought another one for my 40th birthday, and I got rid of them both about 3 years ago, and it just sucks. So enjoy the open road out there. It's liberating for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That will be I've ridden on a motorcycle a couple times, but I'll tell you, I prefer a wave runner if I had to pick. That's a little more fun.
Wave runners are great. They're similar.
Yeah.
The difference is if you splash over on a wave runner, it doesn't hurt for nearly as long.
Yep.
But it's close to flying as you can get. With a twist of the wrist, and you can be there.
Yep.
It's almost like teleportation. So yeah, riding wave runners and jet skis is a freaking blast.
Yeah, that's
no doubt about that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Addison coming back in. Also, who's your top choice for defensive coordinator besides Ed Donatel? The name to keep an eye on is, I have everything pulled up here, is Ejiro Evero, who I believe is going to run more too high kind of stuff for the Broncos if he is indeed the guy brought in. Excuse me, I messed up earlier. Evero's with the Rams, and it is the offensive coordinator who is... God, what was the name? I just had the name. Terrible live TV. Sorry, guys. Adam Stenovich is the one who they're talking about for offensive coordinator. But as far as defensive coordinator, Elijah Evero, pass game coordinator for the Rams, somebody who's the Packers also thought about bringing last season. So the Packers last year saw that the Vic Fangio scheme was doing a great job versus the likes of a lot of these teams across the NFL. So they wanted to run the Vic Fangio style, two high safety match quarters defense. And they brought in Joe Barry. But right behind him and very close was Elijah Evero. Apparently it was very close to bringing in Elijah Evero there for Green Bay. So I think you're going to at least keep some of the same tenets and scheme for the Broncos defense, which is, I would say, a good thing, because we've seen that Patrick Mahomes tends to struggle against his defense more than other styles. And it means you're not going to have to see a big change body type wise, personnel wise, with some of the guys that you have already built up on defense. But you're talking about two first-time coordinators there and a first-time head coach. That's honestly pretty shocking. We haven't talked about that yet, but a first-time offensive coordinator, a first-time defensive coordinator with a first-time head coach. Pretty green there. Going to be some rough patches, I'm sure, but also a lot of excitement, right? With the new guys, there's always the ceiling that you don't know yet.
So some of the speculation was that some of the positional coaches were brought in to be interviewed as coordinators. Was it just Mayo? Was Mayo the only one of the 10 head coaching interviews that was a position coach. I felt like there was one more in there for sure.
A lot of talk of Getsy coming in
so
with
on offense. Yeah, on offense, which makes perfect sense. And I'm not going to promise anything, but I'm going to do my best to stop calling him by another former Chicago Bears coach. I'm not even going to mention that guy's name anymore because it's just stuck in my head that it's not Luke Getsy. So, hey, it's Getsy. So that's what Chad says. So and he's wasn't talking to me this time, but he's thinking who could be the offensive coordinator. Now, you know what could decide Getsy's fate is Aaron Rodgers. Do you want to stay and coach Jordan Love, or maybe do I want to go and coach Aaron Rodgers and go over to Denver? So if Aaron Rodgers leaves, I might be willing to, and I've got my options to go somewhere else. I might think about going somewhere else. Otherwise, it sounds like he's going to be option one for the offensive coordinator job in Green Bay, which might be a tough pull. It might be a tough pull. Mark Schrader coming in with some big stars, saying, "Good morning, guys. Love the hire. First step of many this offseason. Definitely a good start." I'm excited about it too. There wasn't a single candidate out here that had no warts, that had no questions. There was not the perfect candidate out here. If we're looking at Hackett, it's like, the only reason he's any good is Aaron Rodgers. Okay, maybe I disagree, but maybe Dan Quinn, who's terrible with the Falcons, defensive guy, meh. There you can do that to every single one of these guys. This was still my favorite candidate for the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I didn't have a favorite candidate. I'm just trying to go in open-minded and letting it play out. Now that I've said it, I am a little bit, not concerned is the wrong word, but I hope they do bring in at least like bringing in Doug Marrone or keeping Mike Munchak around would be a good thing because those guys have head coaching experience and you have a lot of fresh blood as far as leadership goes. And sometimes that takes a little bit of a adjustment period for these guys. You just don't know. But as far as bringing in Hackett, I'm obviously excited and good for Peyton. I also want to say good for Peyton. A lot of people came into this, me included, wondering if this was kind of a farce. The only head coach you interviewed with previous head coaching experience is Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn has been linked to the Broncos since like October. Dan Quinn and George Payton are buddies. It's just a farce. It's just a farce. No. The Broncos come out of this with Nathaniel Hackett, the only guy to get 2 interviews, and a 3:56 a.m. announcement that Nathaniel Hackett will be the next head coach of the Broncos. So he must have sold them. They must have a good vision. Also, it makes me excited because while I liked Kevin O'Connell, there was somebody, I think the last name is Mongol, for the Broncos in that coaching committee search. That was a former college teammate with Kevin O'Connell, and apparently he was really, really pushing for Kevin O'Connell. Not in juxtaposition to other people in the room, but like calm down, buddy. Like you're the one who's screaming it. Everybody else likes him. You don't have to tell us over and over again. And that was a big issue for the Broncos in the 2018 cycle, where you had Matt Russell screaming about Vance Joseph, and then Matt Russell becoming a powerful person in that leadership group with the likes of Vance Joseph coming into power there instead of hiring Kyle Shanahan. So you never want to have one person with emotional and personal ties being the person that decides something like that. Broncos didn't. Nathaniel Hackett's now the head coach, and hopefully all is right in the world. We'll see what happens with the quarterback position, though, because I like the head coach. I'm excited about it. It's a Jimmy's and Joe's league, baby. You got to have the players.
Oh, Miguel coming back in saying 2 cups this morning. Yeah, for sure. It's the same cup. It's the same mug, but I've filled it at least twice already today. My caffeine crash around 3 o'clock is wicked. I'll tell you that much. If I don't read caffeine, I'm out. I'm sitting at my desk about falling down. So, caffeine giveth, but it also taketh away. He said, I tried to pull my best Adam Schefter and realized Carl posted 10 minutes before me. I'm going to leave that stuff to you guys. There's people that know more about individual subjects than we do, for sure. When I was doing recruiting, I'm like, I might not know more about Parkview than Dustin Wade's dad, but I know more about Kennesaw Mountain than he does. So what makes you what we do is we know a little bit more about everything. But that doesn't mean you can't beat us on most of this stuff. Again, it was Peter Middleton that broke the news to me that the coaching had been done, and we got a couple of marks. I know we wanted an Andrews shirt, an Andrews for Mile High Huddle. I think we probably need a Mark shirt for sure with all the Marks we have in here, because Mark Johnson coming with some stars, and then right after him where'd he come in? It was just right there. Mark Schrader came in with some big stars. Mark says he's super psyched for the hire, and I'll find you here shortly too, Mark, because I want to show your name and say thank you. But Crazy Hayes say the betting odds on Russ or Rodgers now. Go Hawks, by the way. I'm like, Hawks. I'm like, who watches the Hawks? Oh, wait a minute. Seahawks? Hawkeyes?
No.
Atlanta Hawks?
No, it's definitely
be more specific, man. You got a Seattle guy, an Atlanta guy, an Iowa guy. There's Hawks all over the place. Crazy Hayes, appreciate the support. We had a Green Bay fan, and this is just random fan coming in, but he's one of those guys that knows more about the Packers than I do. I promise you that. He came in the chat last night and was adamant, and he was great. So if you're back here, say hello. But he said, probably not much of a chance without Hackett, but with Hackett, your chances go up to 50% or better that Rodgers comes with him. But it takes 3 to tango in this regards. You've got to find a price between Denver and Green Bay that is acceptable, and then Aaron Rodgers has to say okay with it too. So if he leaves, because again, if you're taking odds on team, I'm still picking Green Bay Packers, just like I did a year ago when we had this conversation. Who holds the contract is holding all the cards. But if he leaves, I think Denver Broncos in really, really good shape.
Yeah, man, I'm hoping Rodgers comes. That'll be a lot of fun. Don't want to go too far down the interviews with Aaron Rodgers and everything going on there. But man, dude is an incredible quarterback, and I don't get the sentiment that we'd have to restart again at the quarterback search 3 years from now. Maybe it's 1 year from now. Maybe it's 6 years from now. Who knows? I mean, Tom Brady's breaking the laws of physics and aging, so who knows what's the next for Aaron Rodgers in that scenario. But the biggest thing is you would not have to look for the quarterback position for 5 years or 3 to 5 years, which would be big. And then also you're talking about getting through you're tying a bridge over Justin Herbert's rookie contract, which I think gives you a thumbs up or a heads up for the or leg up. God, all the body positions. It's still early for writing that out, because that's going to be a big benefit for the Chargers the next 3 years. And also you're going to get through some of the waves of the Chiefs talent. Chris Jones 3 years from now, what does he look like? Tyreek Hill 3 years from now, what does he look like? Travis Kelce, what does he look like? I mean, you're talking about those guys maybe falling around and the Chiefs having to reshuffle the deck around Patrick Mahomes too. Who knows what that looks like? They have the quarterbacks there, but the auxiliary pieces matter as well. Just a quarterback alone can't get it done. So go for it, man. If you can bring in Rodgers, go for it. Do it now.
And young, talented teams end up become older, more expensive teams. That's how it goes through cycles. The forced parity of the NFL. Some call it the greatest league in the world for that. I call it anti-American. That they, but there is forced parity. That's why for the most part, there are cycles that through that. And Mark Schrader, I want to say thank you. Mark Johnson. I'm sorry, it was Mark Johnson this time. Came in twice. Maybe that's why I couldn't find it. Mark, he came in with one comment, and then he followed it up with big stars. This one was the big stars. So appreciate you coming in, Mark. And then Lawrence seemed like he was, for Lawrence Rivera, one of the biggest supporters of our show, always in all of our shows. Was kind of an Eric Bieniemy fan. Now, again, I almost feel like Office Space in this. I see Eric Bieniemy on the sidelines. I see him with the headset and the playbook. But if he's not calling plays, he's got to be calling plays, right? I mean, otherwise, if it's Andy Reid.
He's not the main guy calling plays. He's one that's in there relaying information to the quarterback. But Andy Reid is still the head honcho as far as the calling plays there, is my understanding. He does a lot of the helping with the scheming and the game script, but he's not the maestro out there.
Well, and if you're not the quarterback's coach, and if you're not calling plays, you're starting to get an idea why Eric Bieniemy is having trouble moving up from where he is. Forget everything else. But it's like, okay, we want somebody that can develop a quarterback. Is that Eric Bieniemy? Look at Patrick Mahomes. He's not the quarterback coach. Okay, but look at the offense. Well, he's not calling plays either. So what is it exactly you do here?
Yeah.
Going back to my Office Space here. And that's an exaggeration. Don't get me wrong. That's an exaggeration. But for the things that you've said you wanted as a Denver Broncos coach, he doesn't tick either of those boxes.
Yeah, and I believe he was a head coach or offensive coordinator for the Colorado Buffs as well, Buffaloes.
Which may be more of a detriment based on his time there than say, okay, well, he's done this before. Well, yeah, he has, and that didn't go so well.
Yeah,
So
not to.
again, he might be a guy that could look for a lateral move. Let's say, we talk about not getting lateral moves, but if Byron Leftwich was the guy calling plays, it might do Eric Bieniemy some good to go to Tampa and be a play caller, to make a lateral move, to call plays, which we would look at, you and I would look at as a promotion. But it might do him some good to get out from under the wing of Andy Reid. Because again, if you're not the quarterback's coach and you're not calling the plays, how are you going to move on as an offensive coordinator or a head coaching job? I don't know.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe he'll find his way back to college as well, but we'll see. Ethan coming back in, helping us keep the lights on here. Thank you so much, Ethan. 25, Smackaroos saying, food for thought. When contemplating player trade compensation in addition to picks for Aaron Rodgers and/or Devontae Adams, most tradable players with the salary cap are Chubb, Judy, Draymond Jones, and Fant. You're talking about guys in the rookie contracts. So, yes, those are all guys that make sense, but you probably also need to include 2021 draft class as well. Surtain, Browning, Miners, et cetera, et cetera. Those are guys that would have some value as well as tradable assets. Now, I'm not advocating to trade any of those guys, but just want to think about that as well. You're talking about guys that are cheap, and most of the times the guys that are cheap are the rookie contract dudes. Out of the listed players here, I would say that Judy is the one that I would be the most comfortable moving on from for a number of reasons. A, Devontae Adams is coming in. B, you see 10 top 50 worthy wide receivers in the draft every single year. And C, you already have Sutton and Patrick here with good contributors. So I think that Judy, while he's very talented, and I'm excited to see what he could do with Aaron Rodgers, I think that wide receiver especially with Rodgers and Adams coming over, is probably the easiest to replace and get cheaper and younger at the same time. So moving on from Judy at least kind of resets some of those contracts there.
Yeah, if you're the Green Bay Packers and you're looking for a talented player, if you're getting rid of a veteran, I want talent and I want cheaper. Because I'm downgrading. Jerry Jeudy is a downgrade to Devontae Adams. Right now, that's a downgrade. If you are making a Super Bowl run and you are trying to make the playoffs and go for it, you want the better player. So right now, you're okay giving up Jerry Jeudy for Devontae Adams because it upgrades your team. It's a shorter window, but it upgrades your team. We want to make a run at this thing right now. And as we've said before, there's only one ball. Every single week I pull my hair out, what I have around here still. It was like the narrative sometimes was player X didn't get enough touches. And it was a different player every week. Well, this time Sutton didn't get the ball. Well, this time Judy didn't get the ball. Well, this time Fant didn't get the ball. This time Javonte Williams didn't get the ball. There's only one ball. There's only so much. And when you're playing suffer ball and only getting, 2.5 drives a half, it's hard to get those guys the ball. So there's only one ball out there. Devontae Adams coming in. If it takes Jerry Jeudy to do it, you consider that for sure. A first round and Jerry Jeudy, and I start thinking, especially not my 9. Not my 9. I can do more damage with my 9. I'm going to need my 9 for a quarterback. If I'm going to use my 9, it's going to be to bring in a vet quarterback.
Yeah. Yep, I agree with you 100%. Will be interesting to see what happens. Man, I keep trying not to talk myself that we have a chance at Rodgers because I was hurt too bad last year. I don't know if I can take the heartbreak again.
I told you. It's like, where do you think he's going to go? I'm like, Green Bay. These guys aren't leaving. He's not leaving. But you remember, you're dealing with salty Atlanta sports fan here. His teams always lose and players leave us and all that kind of stuff. I'm not used to being associated with an alpha. The only alpha franchise that I actually root for is Chelsea, and they're up and down like a yo-yo. So who knows? I'll have to learn what optimism is. I have no idea.
It's sometimes it's sunny out. It's great. You got to sit in the sun for a bit. Jacob Foster coming in. Speaking of sunny, thank you so much for the support, Jacob. We appreciate you. Welcome in. Good morning. We'll see you again next week. Also, guys, but if you guys are enjoying the show today, Broncos for Breakfast live every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday for the shows here for your morning commute or for you people who wake up. You go to bed thinking Broncos. You wake up thinking Broncos. You're drinking your coffee. Hey, let's see what's going on in the world of Denver in the draft. Come join Scott and I and talk a little Broncos.
Yeah, Nick, this is record viewership for us. It's almost like, something has happened. So welcome in. Whether you're a newcomer or you're one of the old hats, welcome in. Chad posted that we just passed our 100th show.
Yeah.
So Nick and I have done 100 Broncos for Breakfast together, and it's all because of you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and on Twitter I already saw the first fire Hackett tweet. The person just wanted to be first to do it, so it's going to happen eventually. It's just like eventually people are thinking right now George Payton walks on water. Eventually, there's going to be a time where some people are like, he hasn't gotten it done because the NFL is hard, folks, and success is not guaranteed. It's not like you can be Nick Saban in Alabama.
Speaking of which, Nick, I was thinking about, the turnover. There's 9 open positions. That's what, somewhere between 25 and 33%. Call it 29% of the NFL is turning over head coaching positions. Well, for almost all of those, there's then double the amount of coordinators, sometimes triple. So if you have a new coach, you're probably getting 2 new coordinators. Probably. There is a chance Ed Donatel could stick around, but for the most part, that doesn't happen. So for 9 new new head coaches, you're talking 18 new coordinators. Well, here's the thing. A lot of those head coaches are like Nathaniel Hackett was a coordinator somewhere else. Yeah. So then it's exponential. So, and then you're not even talking about the teams like the Panthers who are firing their coordinators to replace it for somebody else. So you're talking about like 30 new coordinators at least, and the turnover in the NFL. Don't get too attached to these guys. Like I've said, it's a job. It's a job. I say trust the coaches. Trust the coaches. I hate that phrase. I trust the coaches to do what they think is best. I don't trust them to always be right. And guess what? They're probably going to be gone in a year. There's a 1 in 2 chance that you're going to be rooting for somebody else in a year. So don't get too attached to your coordinators. If they're any good, they're going to move on. If they're not, they're going to be replaced.
Yeah, it always makes me laugh. People are like, oh my gosh, what if they come poach our coordinators? That means something went incredibly correct here.
It means they were great. Good. That's what you want. As a head coach, we talk about the trees and the successful trees. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. And a lot of times, after they fail out at their head coaching job because they took the Jacksonville Jaguars job,
come back home.
You bring them back. They come back.
Here. Just a warm embrace. Come back to Denver. Yeah, it'd be great. Big Ben just announced his retirement too, so a lot of breaking news going on in the world today. While this has been going on, doing a little bit of research on Ejiro Evero as well, but we'll get to Wyatt Horning first. Speaking of your Go Hawks earlier, Wyatt is a fellow Hawkeye fan, and we always like to shout out those folks in here. Man, I need to get to a Hawkeye game next year. Wyatt, I'm excited to see what Hackett can do for the roster. Really hope that Rodgers and Adams don't get brought in. Ooh, hot take. Don't want this quarterback search in 2 years again. Wyatt, we disagree. And I don't want the drama and diva BS that comes with it too. I mean, as a content creator, they are very good for creating content. Find a veteran quarterback and give Locke the ball with a competent head coach. Oh, Wyatt. I love you. I think if you went into next year and said anything like Locke other than the bridge option at quarterback for 2022, just trying to get you to another window to roll the dice again for the quarterback would get you laughed out of the room as far as the plan. I don't think that's at all the plan for the Broncos. Maybe if they lose out on Rodgers / I hate to say it, but / Kirk Cousins / Russell Wilson, then you see Locke versus a Marcus Mariota versus a rookie draft pick kind of situation. But you have to believe that Hackett and the Broncos are going to be all in on Aaron Rodgers if he becomes available. Obviously, there will be other suitors, but this is lining up where there's just so much smoke that Denver is going to be all in on pursuit of Aaron Rodgers, and rightfully so. Go get it.
As a scout general manager type, you're playing probabilities.
Yeah.
Because there are no sure things. There's injuries, there's people walking away, there's whatever. There's no guarantee at all, period, ever, that you're not in this situation in 2 years, no matter what.
Yep.
No matter what. No matter who you bring in, coach, quarterback, who you keep, who you draft, who you bring in, there's no guarantee that you're not looking for another quarterback in 2 years, no matter what you do. So the probability for me says I could get the best quarterback in the league, a back-to-back MVP. Okay, I'm interested. I'd really like to see that happen. Then, what's it cost? Again, is it going to cost me too much? The nucleus of the Denver Broncos is young. It's really good. It's appealing. So you could get by. You don't need immediate starters or even, guys on the right. You could give up your first round draft pick this year, and you're not counting on that person to come in and plug a hole on your team anyway next year. So you're in the situation in 2 or 3 years, but maybe I've got a Super Bowl And I've got $35 million in available cap space because Aaron Rodgers just retired. I'm shopping again with big money and a successful team and a winning culture and a hot young coach.
Yep.
Yeah, I really I love the idea, and the draft is what hope is. Again, I say that. It's like, man, we're going to give up all this. You're killing my hope for the future. Well, what about the hope for now? You know, you go into next year with a new coach and Drew Lock, who has been not a good quarterback through his career. Okay, it's this, and this. Fine. But there's no guarantee that Drew Lock's going to take that next step forward either. Yeah. You're as close to a guaranteed top-notch quarterback as you will ever get if you bring in Aaron Rodgers. I'm interested. I'm definitely interested.
And the other thing about this is also, you can want a rookie quarterback or that kind of thing going on here, but rookie quarterbacks historically take 2 to 3 years to get going. Mm-hmm. This Broncos roster right now, it's not a perfect roster by any means, but it has pieces. There's a reason last season that all these quarterbacks are linked with the Broncos, and there's a reason that a lot of people in the league and the media are pointing at the Broncos just being this quarterback team away. Do they need a right tackle? Yes. Do they need to figure out some stability at linebacker? Yes. Edge rusher is a concern? Yes. Maybe another secondary piece? Yes. But you go across, you're talking about pre-free agency and draft. Every single team has holes like this across their roster right now. Broncos have a lot of core pieces and a lot of flexibility with a cap. Credit to John Elway for giving this, not leaving this team in a bad financial situation as he left as the general manager, and credit for Peyton for not giving away terrible contracts and a poor first draft class. Broncos have flexibility. You plug Aaron Rodgers in this team right now, they can go toe-to-toe with anybody. No guarantees, obviously, because it's a single elimination tournament, and Aaron Rodgers has only been to one Super Bowl in the easier path NFC. Sorry to say that, Scott. I believe that's to be true the last 15 years than the AFC. But if you have a quarterback of Rodgers' caliber, you have a chance. And windows are hard to get to in the NFL. There's no guarantee that you can even ever get into a window, let alone win it when you're in a window. That's why you see the Rams trading a second and a third round pick for 1 year of Von Miller, because your window is now. You better go get it because windows are fleeting. So if you have a chance to bring in Rodgers, yes, because your window would open up right now.
And Dave, appreciate the stars. Hope you are doing well, my friend. And Lawrence coming in says, you want to keep Lock to learn behind Rodgers. The other factor in this is Drew Lock. Okay. It makes sense. Drew Lock's only got 1 year left on his contract. So doesn't do you much good to have him sitting behind Rodgers and then leave anyway because he wants to go somewhere else. And Drew Lock knows that too. I want to be a starter in this league. I think I'm a starter in this league. If someone comes in that Drew Lock cannot beat out, and let's face it, he cannot beat out Aaron Rodgers. He cannot beat out Russell Wilson. Not going to happen, especially forget if those guys are better or not, what you may think. The LDS around here is thick. What you might think of this, if you give up that much for a guy, he's going to play. The guy that you're bringing in, he's going to play. He may request a trade, and I wouldn't blame him at all. Say, listen, I got 1 year left of my contract. I want to go play for somebody that thinks I can be the long-term solution to this team. Or you re-sign him. You say, listen, you're going to be the guy for us. We're going to commit X amount of money. You pay for that right. We're going to commit a 4-year, $16 million deal to you. Are you interested? We're going to pay for that right for you to sit behind here. But Drew Lock is a factor in this as well. And Lawrence, appreciate the stars.
Yeah. No, thank you so much, Lawrence, for the stars. Some other news here from Nikki Jablava. I can't pronounce last name. But she used to work in Denver covering the Broncos. Now she's covering the Washington football team for The Athletic, saying that Ejiro Evero and Nathaniel Hackett, best friends, dating back to their time playing college football together at UC Davis. Ejiro Evero also has spent years with the 49ers, Packers, and Rams, mainly working with the secondary. He's worked with a number of guys who have gone on to get pretty good contracts out there for the secondary group, joining the Rams in 2017. He's worked under, I believe that would have him underneath Wade Phillips. That would have him underneath the likes of Brandon Staley, and would have him underneath Raheem Morris this last year as well. So a lot of good defensive minds there. The Rams have been shuffling through these last few seasons. Also a lot of secondary players, obviously, as well. You got Aqib Talib, you got Jalen Ramsey, you got LaMarcus Joyner, you got Eric Weddle, you got John Johnson III, who just got paid big money. So I'm excited about Ejiro Evero. I won't lie, Scott. You could probably tell, I was scared about coming in and running a cover 3 or cover 1 heavy scheme. But Evero has done a lot of different stuff. And the Rams, even though their scheme changed a little bit this season. You saw more Ramsey in the slot. You saw a little bit more blitzing, probably because you have a Von Miller, and it makes sense to send 5 guys when you have Aaron Donald and Von Miller sometimes, and a Ramsey in the back end. But he's flexible, and I think that I really like that for the defense going forward. I also love that he is a secondary coach, because I think that is important for the whole picture on defense. I think it's a coverage forward league going forward.
So you just touched on the defense and the possibilities there. David coming in from Switzerland says, "What do you appreciate you, David? Again, truly international." So what should we expect about Hackett? Do you think he wants to keep Gordon or sign a running back? My guess, this is the way I would want to do it. I would offer him, Melvin Gordon, a low ball offer that he will turn down because he's going to get starter money from someone else. I would want to take that money that I've got coming off the books for Melvin Gordon at $8 million, and I would want to invest it in other places in the team. I'd want to take half of the money or half of the touches that he got and ramp him up to Javonte Williams and turn him into a 75% carries instead of 50-50. And then maybe I've got, my reserve, and then draft a guy in the 4th round that can come in and be my 3rd down back. That makes a lot of sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, it probably makes sense to someone smarter than me.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, we'll see what happens with the system here going forward, but the Broncos actually have a head coach now. They're going to kind of figure out what the system is, and you have some stability. Next big hurdle will be free agency. So we'll see what happens there. Rodgers keeps saying that he doesn't want stuff to draw out like last year. So hopefully we will have an answer before free agency, but who knows? Mr. No Fly Zone coming in saying we don't want Adams without Rodgers. We are good at wide receiver. Yeah, you're not bringing in Adams without Rodgers. That doesn't make a lick of sense. Yeah. Also, he can go out there and not get the ball too. No, it's not happening.
Yeah, I liked that comment, and I wanted to say, just reiterate what you're both saying, Mr. No Fly Zone, that Adams is a package deal with Rodgers. If no Rodgers, no Adams.
Yeah,
and a little commentary on the Mexican food in Denver and the Mexican closer. So find out where that was, where they went, and Denver locals, make sure you visit and make sure to tip your servers and say thanks to the owner for sure.
I know.
Thanks for the stars, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nathan. I'm trying to figure out which restaurant it was. It was Los Dos Portillos. So there you go, folks. That's apparently a pretty popular local Mexican joint. I miss good Mexican food. I'm out here in Seattle, and you have amazing seafood and Asian cuisine. Yep. The Asian cuisine is incredible.
It's out there. There's authentic Mexican everywhere. I don't care if you're in Nebraska or in South Georgia or wherever. It's out there. You just got to hunt for it a little bit more.
Yeah,
it was pretty darn good in California. I'll tell you that much.
I bet. Yeah, there's not very much a large Mexican population in Seattle, which makes me sad because I loved my Mexican friends and Mexican food back in East Iowa. Lawrence Rivera, we did need a superstar at wide receiver. Adams, does that imagine Judy and Rodgers? So let me try to decipher this.
He's saying we'd love to have a true bona fide number 1 in Adams, but Judy could be that guy with Rodgers. Judy, Patrick, Sutton, Fant, Williams,
Javonte Williams,
Owebanam, Okwebanam,
KJ Hamler, maybe.
Yeah, there's weapons there, and that's one of the things that makes it so appealing to a quarterback that's on his last legs, no pun intended. Speaking of last legs, Travis came in with the stars saying he just announced his retirement. So thank you, Travis. Appreciate the stars and keeping us up to date while we are doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. And one of the big things about Rodgers to Denver, and I think we've seen it, I'm just extrapolating here from the older quarterbacks that have gone on to have success. You see some of these younger quarterbacks who can go out there with the howitzer arm and create, not having the full menu of weapons, and still succeeding because they're going out there and creating. But these older quarterbacks come in and tend to be a little bit more distributors, and they like to have those weapons. We saw it with Peyton Manning coming in here to Denver 2012, especially 2013. Eric Decker, Demaryius Thomas, Wes Welker, Julius Thomas, later on Emmanuel Sanders, really giving those quarterbacks a chance to pick their matchup pre-snap and win with a pre-snap mind. And Rodgers didn't get a chance to do that with just Davante Adams being his guy. Brady too, Gronkowski, Antonio Brown, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans. So I think for an older quarterback, especially Rodgers, who is not out there creating like he used to, like we saw Allen and Mahomes did in the most recent game we saw on Sunday. So giving Rodgers a chance that has not only Adams in here, but multiple weapons where the 49ers cannot come out here and bracket my one option and then completely stymie the offense would be amazing. This team would be really fun. I do think it would start off a little bit slow. If you guys remember in 2012, the Broncos started 2-3. Peyton Manning had that terrible game in Atlanta where he threw 3 picks, I think, in the first half. And then the Broncos caught on fire in the second half at Los Angeles, or I guess in San Diego on Monday Night Football. And for the rest is history. You're bringing in Adams. I think you're actually cutting down how do I put it? You're cutting down the transition time period for Rodgers and everything getting going because you have some instant chemistry there. And before I would have said maybe that's a little bit overblown, but we're living in a world where Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow went on fire because of that already established chemistry and connection. So I don't think that can be overstated. If you can bring in Adams to go with Rodgers, you are out of the gates much quicker. And I think legitimately a Super Bowl contender next season.
And, then the naysayers might say, well, that's going to cut back on the development of some of our younger guys because Devontae Adams going to get the ball so much. Yeah, okay. But are we putting rings on our fingers or not? It's certainly more likely with Devontae Adams. Sometimes you got to think about the now and not always just think about 3 years down the road. But Travis, we were talking about superstar wide receivers and stuff, and he says Sutton isn't a superstar. No, he's not. He was a burgeoning superstar who got hurt, and he hasn't come back to that level and caught back up to the trajectory he was on. Can he be a superstar? Yes, he can. And that's why he got a nice big contract extension that was probably a little bit over market compared to his production because he can be a superstar. But is he a superstar right now? Nope, he's not. Yeah. Is Judy? No, he's not. Is Tim Patrick? Nope. You see where I'm going with this?
Yep.
So there's potential there. Potential doesn't equal superstar.
Yep. And you saw the flashes, but I mean, it's same with Demaryius Thomas. God rest his soul. Emerging stud player, but not a superstar until Peyton Manning gets here. Once Peyton Manning got here, the expectations, the demands rose. And I think that would be the case with Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers coming to Denver.
Right now, I think the closest you have to a superstar in Denver's offense is Javonte Williams. He's one of those that whenever he touches the ball, you're on the edge of your seat. Right now, he's the closest.
Yeah.
With a better scheme and better quarterback play, that could change quickly, very quickly, which is one of the reasons we're so excited at the possibility of having a veteran quarterback coming in and taking this team to the next level, taking them from potential to production. And Noah coming in with an interesting tidbit. Well, appreciate you, Noah, coming in and he says, Aaron Rodgers is my dad. Well, good. Let us know. Let us know in the comments. What's he thinking? What's going to happen? We got the insider here for sure. Appreciate the super Noah.
I don't even know what to make of that comment. He can be my dad too. I don't know if he's coming to Denver. We'll have a good time. That'll be fun. Man, I'm really excited about this. We're already at an hour. We're gonna keep letting the good times roll because, how often do you get a break news like this? And we got 725 people in here. So Travis coming in now, 100 stars for the Broncos for Breakfast 100th show. Congratulations, guys. Thank you so much, Travis. We appreciate you. If you guys didn't hear the news, if you're joining us here late, Broncos did officially hire Nathaniel Hackett, the former Packers offensive coordinator, to be the team's new head coach. First-time head coach. He gets a 4-year contract. And it sounds like there are rumors that he might bring Ejiro Evero in to be his defensive coordinator, who has been with the Rams for a number of years now, secondary coach, pass game defensive coach as well, and he's best friends with Nathaniel Hackett. The Broncos are also interested in requesting offensive line coach and run game coordinator from the Packers, Adam Stenavich. However, I'm seeing that there is some murmurs that the Packers would block that and raise Stenavich to their own offensive coordinator position, which maybe could make the Broncos switch over to Luke Getsy potentially, but we'll see what happens.
Miguel coming in with some stars says the real reason I'm happy is because if Denver can't get a quarterback, I want to see what happens with Locke. I know people are rolling their eyes, but I think he's better than Love.
He might be better.
Neither one of them have shown much, to be frank. I think I mentioned yesterday, there's revisionist history of the success that Locke has had or the potential that he has flashed with this
Scott.
team. Trevor Siemian has more 3-touchdown games than Drew Lock. He hasn't done it yet. So can he? Maybe. And I keep hearing all the time, if we had played Drew Lock, at least we would have known whether he could be the guy or not. I'm going to flip that one just a little bit. If he has play under Nathaniel Hackett, a quarterback coach, an offensive coordinator, and he's still the one-to-one touchdown to interception guy that he's been through the first part of his career, it's done. We're not having this conversation anymore. You got the right coach. You got the right system. You've got a guy that's a quarterback, an offensive guy. This conversation is over if it's Drew Lock and he's still a 16 touchdown, 16 interception guy after 17 games.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, that's man, it's fun. I'm starting to let myself believe in potentially Rodgers coming to Denver, but we'll see what happens here. We got Vintage Jeff coming in. Well, if not Rodgers, who do you guys like out of Pickett, Corral, and Howell? If Hackett wants to draft a quarterback at 9, oh man, out of this list, I probably lean Corral, but he concerns me a bit. I don't think there's a single quarterback that I feel great about taking in the top 10 this year, unless Peyton looks me in the eyes and tells me that he'd be considering going back in on the quarterback position again in 2023. It's not that I don't think these quarterbacks are great, or not. I don't think they're great. And it's not that I don't think they're good. Each of them could end up being quality starters. I don't think any of them have the ability to go nuclear and play throw for throw like we just saw Josh Allen versus Patrick Mahomes. And if you don't have a quarterback that can do that, why draft them in the top 10? I digress. But if Peyton would come in and say, listen, we like Hackett, Corral, blah, 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 whoever at 9, but we're going to be right back in the market in 2023, or even 2024, that would make me okay. It's just I don't believe in any of these quarterbacks enough to set aside the next 3 seasons without looking to upgrade the room. That scares the bleep out of me, because then everybody's like, oh, the Broncos need to figure out their quarterback position this season. You know what's worse than punting it 1 season down the line? Punting it 3 or 4 seasons down the line. So if you're going to go in on a quarterback like this, it better damn well be the right guy, because historically, those guys get 3 to 4 years to figure it out.
Yeah, and when you were resetting, and by the way, it's much clearer now. 45 minutes later, when you were resetting, I mentioned the fact that if you take a quarterback at 9 and you're coming in as a new coach, you're almost hitching your wagon to that guy. He's coming in, you're a new coach, you spend a premium resource on a quarterback who has a ton of question marks around him coming in, as most first round picks do, most rookie quarterbacks do, but this class more than any. For Nathaniel Hackett's sake, I'm hoping that they'll get a good veteran to come in and compete with Drew Lock for the starting position. Because if you use a pick on number 9 on a quarterback, you're hitching your wagon as a new coach to that guy. And rookie quarterbacks aren't very good. That's just the way it is. They're not usually very good. There are the exceptions to the rule. I know. I don't like trying to build again, when you're a general manager, scout, it's probability. I don't want to try and stake my future on the exception to the rule. And I mentioned Mark Schrader earlier. Maybe I saw him, or you're just in my mind with so many marks about the stars, and I felt like I missed you. But he's if it was just Mark Johnson I was confused with, Mark Schrader is here with a big cup of coffee star. So big stars for Mark. Appreciate you, Mark.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mark. You are super helpful to us. You know how else is helpful? Ethan coming in with $100 for the 100th show of Scott and Nick. Scott, can you believe we have 100 shows already? It could be, you could have told me 500 and I would have blinked. You could have told me 20 and I wouldn't have blinked.
You think it's like, really, has it been? Well, we're coming up on a year, and we went 3 days a week in a couple of weeks into the season. We went 3 days a week. So yeah, end up doing about 150 shows a year. So we're coming up on a year now, so that's a pretty good milestone. And again, I know we've got record viewership today. There's other reasons for that, but our numbers have been going up and up and up. So thank you so much for trusting us with an hour of your days on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays in order to have some fun talking Broncos.
Yeah, and since it's the 100th show, just obvious caveat here is that any of the bad takes we had from our previous 100 shows, they don't count. They reset now. So any of the good ones, though, they definitely count. But the bad takes, me, I guess my Micah Parsons takes were nuanced enough where I'm like, I don't love him at off-ball linebacker moving backwards in coverage. He's not the Travis Kelce stopper everybody keeps saying he is. I want him as an edge rusher. That looks pretty good. But Micah Parsons maybe not taking in the top 10. That one maybe looks dumb in hindsight. But I'll own it. It doesn't count because we're past the 100th show mark.
So what I said about him, you wrote him off because you didn't want the character issues in the team. And that,
You know who
again,
else wrote
we
him
talk
off?
about bias. That he was off your board before you even really started looking at the player. I didn't know about that stuff. Again, I was just diving back into content with this draft cycle and saw his pro day, saw his play at Penn State, and I was like, oh my God, that's a top 5 pick. I was writing up some for the Falcons, have a drink, that the Falcons should be happy that Micah Parsons just killed his pro day, because that makes their pick more valuable, and the Falcons should be trading down and acquiring picks because their team sucks. That's what I thought about Micah Parsons. This guy could go in the top 5. But again, my big one that I'm gonna that I'm out on the limb for the most is probably Justin Fields. So we'll see how that one pans out. Again, rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah, a lot of fun. Sounds like Dan Quinn might be the man for the job in Chicago. It will be interesting to see not the fallout, I think that's the wrong word, but the information that's leaked out from Denver in regards to Dan Quinn and what happened there, because he did seem like such the odds-on favorite. Now, everybody, grain of salt with anything that comes from Denver about Dan Quinn, because it's going to be very much filtered through that PR Denver positive spin. God bless Patrick Smythe, who's incredible at what he does. Man, he's so good at what he does. He should be the press secretary for the president, but I digress. Thank you so much, Ethan. We got probably some more supers coming in here. I think we're just going to let it roll for a bit and see, as long as Scott's doing okay.
We're at our highest, we're pushing 700 viewers. That's highest of the day. So we may just say, Nick, call in sick.
Yeah.
Call in sick. You can take the day. And I don't think we got Jelly earlier when he says, if we get Pickett at 9, can we say Hackett can pick it? I hope Pickett can hack it. What was the one I said? I think that was one we used yesterday about, I'm afraid that Hackett can't hack it. And I was like, well, I'm more afraid that, when Kenny throws the ball, it's going to get a Pickett. And the Falcons signed a guy whose last name is Coward on the defensive line. So
from Auburn,
with
right?
Names, and I can have fun with names because mine is just so boring. Hey, Scott, I always think of Pulp Fiction when Butch says, hey, I'm American, honey, our names don't mean, we've only got a few names to choose from. So Hackett at 9, Pickett at 9. Will Pickett be the pick at 9? All right, Sally sells some seashells or something. We're going off the rails here, Nick. Save me.
Pickett at 9. I guess it's possible if the Broncos don't get in a veteran quarterback, you could see one of these guys come in here, one of these picks. Personally, Pickett is a good quarterback for me. He's a surprising athlete. He's pretty accurate. I think he has a lot of scars in his play from the years of taking hits at Pittsburgh and not trusting his line. I think he's somebody who I don't see him step up in the pocket or maneuver in the pocket a lot. A lot of times he wants to take that big loop running backwards and then out to create a play. And in the NFL, if you're doing that and your name isn't Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, you're going to get sacked, and it's going to be a bad play. And Pickett is not nearly those guys as far as the tools, the athleticism. So he scares me a bit in that regard. Also, his accuracy, while it's good, it's not always perfect from a mechanical standpoint. I just don't see him as a first-round or a top 10 caliber quarterback. Then you add to it, he's going to be 24 years old next year, 25 years old next year, which is definitely on the upper end of the curve for quarterback ages. And he has some of the smallest hands ever measured for the quarterback position. All that stuff together is maybe I'll take a shot on somebody else a little bit farther down the board. Personally, that's just my philosophy. I don't have any conviction about any of these quarterbacks being any better than the rest of them.
So take a breath and hit me on this one, because John Clay Eventing is here. He says, good morning. You guys are my favorite team. Appreciate you. So Hackett is a great hire. I now have hope for this team. And that's all we're asking for. Is to have the hope. Talk Greek mythology. The one fate that didn't escape Pandora's box was hope. If hope is lost, humanity is lost. Hope gets us going in the morning. I have hope for this team. Isn't that a great feeling? I just joined, so who we think will be offensive coordinator. Thanks always for a great show. So, Nick, I know you went through a couple options. Luke Getsy could follow. I really think it's going to come down to what does Aaron Rodgers do with Getsy. If Rodgers stays, Getsy probably is the number one choice to stay in Green Bay. And and then there are a couple other options that Nick, you went through earlier. So if you want to do a quick recap, because we've been on about 70 minutes and our numbers for viewers, there's new viewers coming in every minute.
Yeah, so obviously Luke Getsy is a name that to keep an eye on. The other one is Packers offensive line and run game coordinator Adam Stenovich. I believe it sounds like Adam Stenovich might be hired to be the offensive coordinator to fill in Hackett's now vacant spot for the Packers offensive coordinator spot. Um, if if not if not him, then Getsy will be the guy. So I think one of those two is going to follow Hackett to Denver, and the other one will become the offensive coordinator for the Packers underneath Matt LaFleur. But exciting times, man. I'm really excited to see what happens with this team. Offensive mind in here for the first time since Gary Kubiak, and somebody who's done multiple stuff schematically. I'm really curious to see what it looks like. Again, it doesn't mean a bleep if you don't have the quarterback. Just look at Sean Payton. All it took was one season of Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill, Ian Book to say, oh, that's what it looks like to not have a good quarterback. I'm out of here. So you got to get the quarterback right still. I don't give a, unless you're Kyle Shanahan, honestly. That's the only other guy. But it should be good. We got Tina Fairchild coming in here saying, what are your thoughts on Desmond Ridder in the second? Yes, I'm in. I know some people say Desmond Ridder, third round pick. Some people say Desmond Ridder, quarterback one in this class. Desmond Ridder has a good arm. He is got a big frame. He needs to probably fill out his base a little bit more. Needs to hit the squat rack a little bit more. And he's a good athlete, especially in the open field. He's got a big gait. Once he can kind of get in the open field, his legs are so long that he can just be gone. But he's a little bit inconsistent with his accuracy, his touch, and it feels like it's a little bit of a roller coaster, not only game to game, but drive to drive. I don't want to send shivers down anybody's spines, but it feels like it's the Carson Wentz experience where you see some of the flashes that are amazing, and then some of he turfs a ball with bad mechanics on another throw. But I think Desmond Ridder has potentially, honestly, this might not be crazy to say, Desmond Ridder might be the furthest along mentally of any of the quarterbacks in this game are coming out of the college right now with how much Cincinnati put on his plate with a pre and post snap read. So long answer, Desmond Ridder in the second. Yes, I would be all about that. I think that's great value and somebody that you want to bet on. Bet on somebody with tools. I don't see him being a Josh Allen type, but he could be a good enough as far as the arm talent and athleticism perspective that it would be worth the swing. Not somebody that you're hitching your wagon to for the next decade, but somebody who's worth a scratch lottery ticket type, which is what a second round quarterback is.
Yeah, in the second round, I like it. You've got, especially when you've got 2 second-round picks. And again, you're not looking to plug an immediate hole. There's no emergency spots on this team. Could I get a better guard? Could I get a better right tackle in the second? Maybe, but I might address that in the first pick too. So again, getting a pick at number 9 with quarterback makes me really, really nervous for a lot of reasons that we went through earlier. Picking up one of these guys in the second, yeah. I love low risk, high reward. Love it. And that's what Desmond Ridder would be in the second. Appreciate the stars, Tina.
I
Michael says, Nick and Scott,
man,
go and have a great day. I'm having a great day. This is a great day. I don't know about you. I said, but if I'm not out on a baseball or softball field with my kids or in Stamford Bridge Stadium watching Chelsea, I'd rather be right here.
I would rather be right here with you guys too. I will say I'm starting to get the itch for summertime in the Pacific Northwest. I've already started booking multiple backpacking trips here out in the Olympic Peninsula. So I'm excited about that. But also, I'm trying to talk the wife. You guys need to start badgering my wife too. Alaska in August. Let's make it a thing. God, we're so close. We got to go. But thank you so much, Michael, for the comments here. We got John coming in here too. North Carolina quarterback Sam Howell is projected as a top 5 pick. Great freshman year, sophomore year. Had one average year with no talent around him, and now he has hate. Thoughts? Well, he is one who intrigues me, but he also scares me a bit too. That processor that he has, it looks very slow, and maybe some of that is Phil Luongo's offense. And if you guys have been around here at all, you know that I despise that man's offensive scheme. I hated it when he was with Ole Miss. Listening to AJ Brown and DK Metcalf talk about their route trees, like we just run slants or goes. It's like, oh my God, are you freaking kidding me? You're a D1 school. Are you serious? Oh my God, I hated that at Ole Miss, and I don't like it at UNC either. Doesn't give the quarterbacks many easy options. It's a lot of like chuck it downfield or tuck and run kind of stuff. Sam Howell is the youngest quarterback in this draft class. He has a good arm, and he's a solid, thick athlete. He's not going to, take off in the open field and make anybody think of Lamar Jackson, but he's also not a stick in the mud. I think he's slightly more athletic than a Baker Mayfield, which is not ideal, but it's fine. As far as him being a top 5 pick and falling down some, he's going to have a lot to prove, and Scott's going to be down there. Plug, everybody. Senior Bowl next week. So he's going to get a chance to see Sam Howell throw next to a lot of these guys, a lot of the top quarterbacks outside of Matt Corral. So we'll see with Sam Howell how it looks with better talent there. He did lose Daz Newsome. He lost De'Ami Brown. He lost Michael Carter, and he also lost Javonte Williams, of course. I'm saving the best for last. So that's going to change things.
You mentioned those running backs. The passing game opens up a whole lot when you got 2 NFL running backs behind you.
Yep.
So again, it's cyclical there with a team like North Carolina. They're not going to hit every year like LSU or Alabama or Georgia. They're going to have rises and they're going to have falls. If they recruit well, they're not going to get really good guys and then be able to keep sustaining it behind them. The type of players that they'll get will say, I don't want to play behind that guy. I'm going to go play somewhere else because they're North Carolina. They're not Alabama or LSU or Georgia. So there are going to be cycles in there. What I saw from Howell, the little bit I watched him play live this year, I was really impressed. I really liked him. I'm like, why? What's wrong with this guy again? So again, next week, Tuesday morning will be a Senior Bowl preview, Broncos for breakfast. I will be down in Mobile. If everything sets up right and I've got a good enough internet connection, we'll be doing previews and reviews on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. So stay tuned. We got a Packers fan coming in here, Joseph Poffel. And apologies if I mess up your name. I'm hard with Joseph. That should be right though. No, just kidding, Joseph. So offensive coordinator is an underrated signing. As a Green Bay fan, you guys are going to have a solid run game with Javonte and great pass blocking. That is music to the ears of Broncos fans. I don't know that Steinvich is there for sure yet. I don't think that's happened in the last hour and 15 minutes that we've been on. But if he's the guy, here comes an endorsement from a Packers fan. And appreciate the super, Joseph.
Yeah, not signed just yet, Adam Stenovich, but we'll see what happens with him. Thank you so much, Joseph. Beautiful picture of that Blue Jay. Don't see Blue Jays or Cardinals out here in Seattle. I miss those guys. Wanted to get here to Jeremy Sean real quick. I know we have a lot of comments coming in. If Pickett had bigger hands, he'd be a first rounder in Nick's mind. Maybe. That might be a tiebreaker for him and Matt Corral. In my mind, both of those guys are the top tier quarterbacks in this group.
What did you say? Like 8 1/4 or something?
8 1/4. There's been, I think, 300 quarterbacks.
I was measuring something yesterday, so I had out the tape measure. So I pressed my hand up against the wall. Mine were 9 3/4.
Yeah, 8 1/4 is insanely small. There have been, I think, almost 400 quarterbacks' hands measured in the mock draftable database dating back to 1999, and there is one quarterback in that entire sample size that has quarterbacks that is 8 1/4 inch hand length. So it's very small, concerningly small. Denver is going to have to play in some bad weather situations in Denver late in the season, or going to Kansas City late in December, which, God, it seems it's becoming a yearly thing for Denver to go to Kansas City in December. Why can't it be a nice September game? I digress. And with Kenny Pickett, too, it's not just that he has the hand size. He also has, I believe, he had 25 or 35 fumbles in college as well. A lot of games, but that's concerning. So that many fumbles is directly related, I would say, to the hand size. And also the NFL ball is bigger. So it's like, not only it's going to be harder for him to grip. I know that Pickett has the double jointed thumb. You're just talking about weirdness on top of weirdness with the small hand size and now breaking in the double jointed thumb. Does that matter? I don't know, but we're looking for factors to delineate these guys. I'm leaning into it a little bit. I think Pickett should still go in the first round. Don't have a first round grade on him. Do not think he should go in the top 10. None of these quarterbacks should snip the top 10.
And Joseph, appreciate the patience. I'm working my way down the chat, and we're busy today, so we're not as far behind. Sometimes I get as much as 30 minutes behind in the evenings as we're showing the super. So if you've given stars or super, we will get to you one way or another. And EJ, no stars here, but those have hearts next to me. We got Chelsea. I wore my blue today. I'm like, what should I wear today? I should wear some blue for the Broncos. So I always have Chelsea. Go Chelsea. Where's my beanie? My beanie's still upstairs. I thought it was down here. I was running around trying to get some work done. I was like, Ethan's gonna ask where my Broncos for breakfast beanie is, and I don't know where it is. I don't even have a beanie down here. I'm so out of sorts. But you can get a Huddle Up, a Broncos for breakfast beanie at huddleuppod.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys, check it out. We're going to have a lot of good information. And make sure you guys are hanging out with us tonight, as well as Scott and Chad are going to be, or I guess Scott and Chad, but Zach and Chad are going to be breaking down. Scott might as well poke in as well.
Zach's going to be giddy.
Yeah.
Chad's a little more even keel all the time. Zach goes up and down like a roller coaster, kind of like we do. We get along. So hopefully that, when I'm up, he's not too far down and vice versa. We balance each other out well. But Zach's going to be giddy tonight for sure. So I know he was one of the first on the Nathaniel Hackett bandwagon in Broncos country. So I know he's going to be super happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And man, I'm excited about the scheme, the staff as well. The scheme here, I'm reading more about the likes of Stenavich, and just thinking about the offensive line coach and run game coordinator for the Packers. Packers this year, because of the lack of weapons, did a great job with the run game. Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon did fantastic, and the Packers' offensive line this year was decimated across the board. I mean, their best two players out. They lost Corey Linsley, and that offense still chugged along to be, I think, top 5 in EPA per play this season. Now, you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, MVP quarterback behind there, but still, the offensive line was decimated, and he did pretty darn well. So I would be excited about him coming to Denver as the offensive coordinator on top of the defensive scheme. Scott, yeah, I can't overstate how excited I am that the Broncos might be keeping the match quarters split field safety, not only because I think it works best with the personnel. I think it's the best way to keep Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert slowed down. You can't stop them, but to slow them down.
Yeah, again, I'm so much more of a personnel person than I am schemes. And like the right personnel can make any scheme work, that I don't get too into them. So this scheme versus this scheme doesn't excite me too much unless I see somebody that's completely incompetent, which happens. Yeah. But I know you do, and I'm happy for you.
That sounded very passive.
Peter,
I know you care.
Peter Middleton came in about 6 minutes ago, and I can't find it. I don't know if the chat ate it with some more stars, and he just says, I can't wait for the season ahead. Just echoing the excitement of Broncos country. And appreciate the stars, Peter. And Mark Johnson, sorry, I just stepped on you on that one. Mark Johnson's come in several times with stars again. So again, thank you so much. I know it's an exciting day for Broncos country.
Absolutely. Hope springs eternal when you have something like this going on. And thank you, Peter. I'm scrolling up here looking for it. Have not found it yet, but should be good. And we have more breaking news. The Bears are hiring not Dan Quinn, who knows what's happening with Dan Quinn now. Oh. But Matt Efferbliss, I can't pronounce the name.
That sounds too close to effortless for me.
Eberflus. It's Eberflus. The defensive coordinator for the Colts the last few seasons. He's done a fantastic job with that Colts defense, maximizing their back end, especially of that defense. So I'm excited. I actually had hoped originally early on that the Broncos would bring in Eberflus to interview him, just because he has I think he has a very good scheme defensively of what he's doing. And I think Peyton early on was using the wide net, not only to interview possible candidates, but also to gain knowledge about what's working and what he should be looking for in the league. And I think Eberflus is doing a great job there. What does it mean for Justin Fields, though?
Daboll was considered one of the favorites for the Chicago Bears job, that and the New York Giants. So right now, you've got Dan Quinn, who I consider one of the favorites for the Giants job. You got Brian Daboll, who is also considered heavily by the Giants. Mm-hmm. So again, once the first domino fell, it was going to start getting, we're going to start seeing more of them fall. So now the Giants one becomes real interesting to me. And Quinn not going to the Giants would be a surprise to me. But, Daboll, and here's what DWI guy says, Daboll going to Miami. Okay. I don't know why I kind of just pictured in the Buffalo to New York thing culturally made sense to me.
But also the Giants just hired former Bills personnel person, Schoen, I think is the last name, to be their new general manager. So there's
and as Zach said, he said a couple times this week that the Giants not only interviewed Dan Quinn, but they also called in Joe Witt Jr., who worked under Quinn more than once. Joe Witt Jr. is the son of legendary Auburn Tigers coach Joe Witt. And Joe Witt has bounced around. All these guys bounce around. Joe Witt Jr. he latched on to the ill-fated Bobby Petrino train and had to rehabilitate his image from there, and has. So he could end up moving up to being as high as a defensive coordinator under Dan Quinn with the New York Giants. And Joe Witt Jr. is a great human being, a great person. So I'm excited for him, but that makes a lot of sense. And Shane coming in says, good morning, Nick and Scott. Today feels like a great day to be a Broncos fan. Great hire, and the guy I was rooting for the whole time. Several people in here, you, Ethan, DWI guys with the entire Hire Hackett Fund. Again, I'm happy for you. I know this is again, I could give you reasons to be excited for Dan Quinn and why he was going to improve this team and improve the culture. But I think Hackett brings those same types of vibes, for lack of a better word. The only question is how good can he put the staff around him? And that's a big question mark for any first-time coach.
Yeah. Nope. And obviously there should be a little bit of nerves for the Broncos bringing in these guys, given the greenness of all these coordinators that they're talking about. Nathaniel Hackett being a first-time head coach and all these guys being first-timers in their position. But that's the dice you roll sometimes. Broncos went with a first-time head coach last time, but they had a lot of experience around him, and it didn't work out very well. You talk about bringing in, Pat Shurmur, going to come in, former head coach, been around the league, been offensive coordinator before. It's going to be great. Didn't turn out great, so you never know until you know.
See, I'm behind here. So has Dan Quinn come out and said, I'm staying in Dallas?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I've seen it twice now, so could be interesting there. So we'll have to gonna have to check it out. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Dan Quinn having another year.
There's news right now. Yep, Tom Pelissero. I'm sorry to say that, but sorry to interrupt you, Scott.
No,
but
okay.
Dan Quinn has informed the teams that he's staying with the Cowboys. 6 teams requested head coaching interviews with Quinn. He decided he wanted to return to Dallas to try to win a Super Bowl next year. So there you go. According to Tom Pelissero.
And good for him. His players love him for reasons like this. He's got Arthur Blank money in the bank from coaching the Falcons for 6 years or so. Again, we've said before, if you're a head coach, one contract sets you up for life. You'll never have to work again. Financially, you've got generational money. Mm-hmm. Now, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with your life? Dan Quinn wants to coach the Dallas Cowboys, and he wants to stick with these players. And frankly, that's one of the reasons the players love him, and they're going to be excited that he comes back. And that's a good feeling. So congratulations to Dan Quinn and the Dallas Cowboys and the Dallas Cowboys defensive players, because they're going to be excited to hear that. And I'm excited to say Mohamed Badri come in with a super sticker. So appreciate you, Mohamed.
Thank you so much, Mohamed. A lot of fun having here today. I probably got to get going here pretty soon, Scott, because I have work that I do have to do today that is on a timeline, unfortunately, so I can't hang out with you guys all day. But are there any more supers here? Or
we'll get going. There's Jim. This feels like a new name to me too. So Jim, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here. Malaxe is about as close as I will get to that one. Coming in with some stars, so appreciate you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jim.
And this might be the case here too. Dan Quinn may have wanted to be in Denver. Maybe. Yeah. He also may have wanted to be in Dallas. So it may not have been the right time to be in New York. So you know what? When you guys decide that Daniel Jones isn't the guy, give me a call.
I mean, that quarterback's a big one, so who knows? Do you think also, I was thinking about this the other day. Do you think that Sean Payton bowing out of the Saints coaching gig this season has as much to do with the avenues of upgrading the quarterback via the draft? Because Saints don't have a lot of money, so the only way that I see them getting a good quarterback is the draft. And maybe that's him saying, I've looked at this 2022 crop. No thanks. Well, we'll see you again in 2023 or 2024.
I don't know. He's been at it for almost 20 years in the same gig. I think he's too much of a competitor to say, I can't build. I don't want to build this team up. I actually think someone like him, Peyton would basically be there. He's a lifer. He's done enough that he could stay there and survive a downturn, rebuild, and come back up, which he might find appealing. But when you've been doing it for 20 years, maybe he just doesn't have the, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do something else. Again, you're talking maybe $3 million a year. He's put $100 million in the bank, over the course of 20 years as a head coach. I'm going to go talk on TV. I'm going to go get a nice cushy job and be a pundit and make fun of everybody else for a change.
Yep, absolutely. We'll see what happens. I know that the quarterback is crazy enough that me not loving any of these guys doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. They just don't have the superhero traits. That's pretty obvious to see. Doesn't mean they won't be successful. They can be good quarterbacks. It's just good luck picking which one. We got Andrew Eastman coming in and say, did Peyton settle with Hackett because Quinn isn't leaving? I think it's the other way around. I think maybe that's just me riding the wave right now, being excited. But I think once they offered Hackett, Quinn wanted to come to Denver / Green Bay / maybe Chicago. Didn't get the power that he wanted, and he's going back to Dallas, where he's going to be paid quite handsomely with the team and gets to use Micah Parsons again and build that resume and hopefully be another head coaching candidate in the next cycle. So, it's the same thing with a quarterback, right? If you're the head coach, if you have a chance to be a head coach, don't jump if the opportunities are not correct. You want to make sure it's the right fit for you. Don't just do it because you feel like you have to do it. Same with drafting a quarterback.
Yeah, especially like we've said, especially when you've got the money in the bank. And Wyatt says, my buddy's a Cowboys fan, and he said that Jerry wasn't going to let Quinn go even if he wanted to. It's not up to him. You can't. You're not holding the guy back as a coordinator if he gets a head coaching gig. Doesn't work like that. So that it wouldn't have been up to Jerry Jones. Not only can he not, it's bad business. You have trouble. You lose the locker room, and where you're denying guys opportunities. When it makes it tougher to hire the next guy. It's just bad all around. You're excited for the people that work for you if they get opportunities to move up. It means you've done well. Yeah. Making him do that that's just not going to happen.
Yep, absolutely. Well, guys, I got to get on out of here. We love you. Super excited.
Sign us out, Nick. I think we're good to go.
Yeah. You guys make sure you're joining us again tonight for Zach and Chad on the Huddle Up Show. But you guys can follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I'm at Nick Kendell MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys are on Facebook, join us on Facebook today. Thanks. Shout out to everybody who's joined us and donated stars or not. But if you are on Facebook, make sure you're heading to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle, as well as facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod to join in on the hype, man. The show is ending right now, but the community there, the conversations on the Facebook groups continue on all night. So make sure you guys are hanging out there through the rest of the day if you want to kill some more time talking about the Broncos here. If you are on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share to this show, as well as Scott's channel over on youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. If you guys are listening to this for the first time or listening to it live or after the fact, anything like that, make sure you go to iTunes or wherever you listen to your shows. Find this show, find the Huddle Up podcast, go there, leave a 5-star rating and a review for a chance to win some of the gear. And if you guys like the gear, the coffee mugs, the beanies, etc., go to huddleuppod.com. Check out the gear there. Any other people we want to get to here before we are on? I see Peter Middleton. Peter, I'm sorry that we lost your chat earlier, but I wanted to flash you over in Cambodia. We appreciate you, Peter.
There was one from Glenda coming in. I always like to make sure we highlight our ladies of MHH. Glenda comes in and she says, will the owner announcement come soon now? I don't think so. Again, talking about the timeline of change, because it's going to be just sweeping change at Broncos country this year. It's going to be coaching staff, personnel, including quarterback options, and then when you're swapping 8 or 9 zeros, billions with a B, the lawyers and everybody got to take their couple 100 pounds of flesh, and that takes a little bit longer.
Yeah, nope, absolutely. Should be fun. Thank you so much for the comment. We'll see. I think it'll be around the owner meetings post-draft. So I'm guessing end of April / through May is when you're going to hear that happen. I saw that it's expected to be the most expensive team purchased in American sports history. So that means somebody's probably coming in with some deep pockets and there'll be some interesting change there in Denver. I really hope that they add to the experience around Mile High Stadium. I know that the parking lots are great for tailgates and whatnot, but it'd be fun to have, something attached there. When I went to Lambeau a decade ago, they have the Packers Hall of Fame that's attached. That's incredible. Big immersive fan experience there, building a Packerland. I'd love to see that in Denver with the new ownership here, but we'll see what happens. They're honestly probably coming up to a point where a new stadium is possible.
Yeah, the Battery for the Atlanta Braves is kind of cool. When they built that, they built everything, apartments, restaurants, all kinds of stuff around that. And you see during away games, people pack the Battery and watch stuff on the big screen. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, guys, we love y'all. We got an hour and a half today. I got to get going. Hit us up on Twitter. I'll probably be distracted on there today, but at least I got to go into work. So love y'all. You guys stay safe. Choose kindness. New era in Denver with Nathaniel Hackett as the head coach. We'll see what transpires from here. Maybe some more news after this. Things are looking up in Bronco country. Gotta love it. You are great. Scott, have a good rest of your day. Go Broncos.